closest cousins are the bonobos and the chimpanzees, and then a little bit farther out would be, the gorillas. And what are we doing? We're putting them in prison. In 50 years, they'll probably be extinct, except those that are in captivity. Okay, and that's not normal behavior. And so what I've done now is for my classes this semester, because I've got students who just don't see the relevance. I'll always bring in. Well, let's look at our behavior too, as opposed to the great apes. And so I talk about their behavior and how they organize themselves, and then I talk about how we organize ourselves. How it's a lot similar. Mm-hmm. It is. It's a lot similar. And I was thinking, God, and it really hit me the other day. I was in class. I was thinking, my God, we really are just similar. We just don't happen to have quite as much hair, but they have more freedom than we do, because for example, baboons are what show monkeys. When there's an alpha male and his females, he always is in the state of tension, which causes his cortisol levels to go up, because he's guarding his mates. He's from everybody else, from all the beta males. Well, I was thinking, and I told my students, you see, when you're under that flight or fight response, or you're constantly under tension, you're the same way. This is how we can look at each and see, well, they're related to us, besides just the genetics that you don't see. And some people just really aren't interested. They aren't interested in anything. And that's what really upsets me, because there's so much to be interested in. And they just don't. And I mean, we live in such a wonderful area to explore, and they just aren't. So I just walk out and I'll just think, what is going to happen to this generation?
The bonobo relatives that will gather,
because I keep saying, I tell them, the bonobos display a wide range of sexual behavior, and so do humans, a wide range of sexual behavior, but we never talk about it, because we don't, but you're out there doing it, but you never talk about it. And I can see sometimes maybe students become uncomfortable with some of the topics I bring up, but these are the things, well, I'm paid to do, that it's my duty to talk about, and that we should talk, but they don't read, I think they're just so concerned with how they're going to make it, that they haven't had an education like you would, like they should have gotten in high school, to be, just to be.
Yeah, we're not taught any sort of to be. To be is all spirituality now.
But just to be. I mean, my God, just to be a human, to see. Wow, look at, for example, the leaves on this. See how the sun is lighting those leaves on that tree.
I know, isn't it beautiful? And
yes,
that tree really shot up this.
And nobody. The other day, the sky was like this, but we had a lot of clouds in it. And in one of my classes, this giant cloud came over, and it was like that. My entire classroom became dark. Well, I knew one. It wasn't, it was just a cloud passing, a big cloud. But I had some of my students go, oh, and I said, it's okay. It's just a cloud. Don't worry about it. I'll protect you. It's not the apocalypse. Let's just keep going, But I just worry about my students, because, I'm worried about this, social media, being behind the computer all the time.
It is isolating.
It's isolating. I'm concerned about that. I'm concerned that because when they walk into my class, immediately they sit down, about 10 minutes before, and they will start texting. And I always say, why don't you talk to the people beside of you and get to know them?
Mm-hmm. But do you see how, though, like with the split that happens with those that are going to take that zombie route, and then the people that will gather into their tribes back, returning to tribe. I feel like we're in that transition right now, and so there's a lot of mutation, and I think that this aids and it limits, but it isolates, but it aids in that it gives everyone an outlet to find their tribe. If you don't fit in where you are, you can find it.
Yeah.
And I think that it's important. It's absolutely a great
Well,
tool,
maybe
but I
you-
see how
you're
it does
interpreting it like
isolate
that
because we
because
use
you-
it like addiction.
Yeah, you're interpreting it like that because you're a social person, and primates are social. You're social, so you see this as another
It's a
extension.
tool, right? It's a social tool.
But if you spent, what if you spent your entire time behind it, and that's it?
Well, I have.
I know, and we talked
We've
about
done
that too.
We've both done that.
And I'm
And-
thinking, we both said, this is not good.
Right.
It's a good way to communicate, but it's not the only way to communicate.
Right.
And it worries me that it may become the only way to communicate for some people.
Yes. I think that's autism. We're not taught how to communicate. We're not taught how to be. So then we're born into this being and we have to figure it out, and we're born of parents that weren't taught either. And then their parents weren't either. And so it just continues and continues, and so then now they have to read facial, they don't even know how to interpret body language anymore because we haven't been taught how to feel our bodies, to be in our bodies. We aren't taught.
Mm-hmm.
We're losing that. And then we make it all these diagnoses, and we give it chemicals and try to alter ourselves back into this thing when our bodies create all the chemicals that we need to be a balanced being, and we just aren't taught how to access it properly. I think that we focus too much on the brain being the sharpest tool in the shed, but we've spent our lives sharpening it and forgot the rest of our organs. It's a symbiotic relationship. And this guy, the brain is just taking the orders from the feedback from the body. And if the body's sending crap messages, then this guy is just going to be crazy. You know what I mean? We're not taught how to balance our systems. Listen to all of our parts, not just our brains. We rely on this.
This movement has started. I remember talking about this with my grief counselor, and she asked me. I said, if we're going to have changes, it's going to have to be a paradigm shift in the way we think. Something that would be similar to whenever Galileo and Copernicus and Galileo, who came out and said, well, the Earth is not the center of the universe. Well, we know that now. That seems so simple. But at that particular time, no. That was a heresy. And, with Darwin's natural selection, again, heresy. But we accept it now. Not everyone, but I think we have to accept and start working and saying that we are part of an interconnected web.
Truly.
And if we don't start seeing that what we do each day, then we are doomed as a species. Okay? And the world may be better off without us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because there are over 7 billion of us. Now, I was talking to my students the other day. I said there are over 7 billion humans as primates. But when you get the numbers of other primates, all of them together don't even come close to the number of primates. But I said, but as primates, as humans, look at all the variation in terms of our behavior that we have. We have different systems of marriages or unions, okay? Different ways in which we group ourselves and how marriages can be arranged. Who's your marriageable partner? Because, for example, you can emphasize only the patrilineal line or the matrilineal line, and perhaps those cousins that you would interpret as a cousin to you that you'd never marry would be a marriageable partner. And then, so you've got people who are coming in who are of a dominant culture saying, oh no, you can't marry that person. Oh no, you can't do this. They're putting their human imprint on you, and then 1 or 2 generations, people are ashamed of their culture. No. Why?
Right. That's
not correct behavior. In my opinion, that is not. Who are you to say this is not correct? Unless it is a human rights violation, killing people. To me, is a violent violation, damaging and doing harm to someone, no matter what culture. And we are responsible for that. This whole thing about because I have military people in my life. I mean, in my classes, and it's okay it is a righteous war,
What's a righteous war?
because we do it. I'm being sarcastic.
I know, but we do. Right.
We've done an awful lot of damage in the Middle East, and we've done an awful lot of damage in Central America with our secret wars.
Yeah.
And people fleeing to come up here because they have no place else to go. And we have people, people think they're illegal aliens, that they should. Well, I'm saying, well, there are women and children are coming. What threat do you think they possibly have to us as an American lifestyle? We owe them something because we were involved in it. So can you honestly go to sleep at night thinking about those people who, and I don't mean those people, but those poor women and children who are fleeing for their lives, have nothing to come here?
I know.
And so, I mean, your Christian God is nothing to me. I want no part of it. I don't want the kind of hate. I don't want the kind of bigotry. And if that is it, then I want no part of it. And I don't think of someone who is mindful, or somebody who has a decent heart, has that heart, wants a part of that. And I will not hate somebody for being Muslim or being Hindu or for being poor, because I am all those. And so are you. Let's just stop now. Anyway, he said, would he give you any money, And I said, well, no. I mean, what are you going to use it for? And he said, wanted to get something to eat. And I said, well, we'll take you down to Subway, because it was right around the corner. And he said, well, they won't let me in Subway. And I said, well, why not? And he said, well, they just won't let me in. I said, well, come on, Jack and I'll be right back. And so we took him down there, and he wouldn't go in. I said, you're going in. And anyway, so the manager was there, some little shithead, just, he was, Anyway, and so Slim is this guy's name. Anyway, and I said, well, Jackie, I said, well, what do you want? And he said, well, this is what I want. So we got him the sandwich. And anyway, that manager was really happy, but he wasn't happy to me, but he was happy to him. And I said, look, I'm going to tell you something. You treat this guy like a human, because you could be right in his place just because you were nothing but a real manager at a Subway. And you could be right here. You treat him as a human, because that is what he is. Well, anyway, he's been on the streets all this year, and he'll occasionally show up on the west side. So, and he thinks I won't remember. He told me one time, he said, do you have any cigarettes? And this is what I'm smoking. I said, well, sure, I'll give you some. He said, well, you could just throw them to me. And I said, I'm not going to throw them to you. I said, man, you are human. Don't sit there and take this stuff from people. Because he told me about how people would throw money at him instead of hand it to him. And there's nothing I can do, because I can't. Every time I will stop and talk with him, and it's just, there's just nothing. And I was thinking about him last night. I guess I'm thinking about him now, because he told me he just felt like killing himself the other day. And that's the first time in all these years I've ever heard him say that, because he's an alcoholic, has no place to live. And I'm thinking, what are we doing? What are we doing? Because if he had been born into a well-to-do family, he would have been taken care of.
Right.
So is it just like there was some guy who got killed downtown a couple of years ago, got hit by a truck driver, and his life was less than? They tried to suppress the evidence that the guy was drunk. He was driving the car because he had money, and he killed a homeless person. Was that guy who killed was less than somebody because he was homeless? That's the culture that we live in. He's homeless, so I'm going to walk right past you. It just really upsets me. So no, I'm disappointed in the country we live in. We have some very good people. And I hope that the Bernie Sanders campaign, I hope that this camp sends a clear message. Okay?
Yeah.
To all of us.